Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode on Virtual Teachers from On-Site to Online. I'm Shauna, and this is where we talk about how we can develop professionally and personally. In today's video, I'd like to share 5 low prep activities that I have used in my online classes for engagement and connection with my students. I have specifically created these activities for teachers with minimal resources, also for students with minimal resources, and those who are not so tech savvy yet. So let's jump right into these activities. Remember, 5 of these wonderful activities that you can use in your online classroom. So the first activity that I incorporate in my live lesson is puppetry. Do you like puppetry? Do you like puppetry? This is important for those students who are especially at the early years and the lower elementary. They can actually find it engaging. So yes, puppetry is one of the activities that I incorporate in my morning sessions and also in the afternoons. You know, that gets students excited. If you're doing greetings, you can have the puppets at the beginning of the session to greet each student by name, you know, ask them how they're doing, make it animated. And I think in one of my videos, I always say, amplify the energy, especially at the early years. You need to make sure that students are engaged, they are happy to come online, and they're looking forward to a wonderful time with you, right? Yeah, so puppetry. Try it. Next one is pick a card. What I do, I draw different parts of the body on cards. You can simply get construction paper, any different colors, make it exciting, right? And then I will draw the different body parts on. I will write an instruction on the reverse sides, and then I will display these on the board. Students will now, they would need to select the card, but how they have to select the card, they would need to call the color of the card and the body part. So for example, orange air. Once they call that, I would remove that card from the board. Then I would read the instructions to the student, and they would have to do the action or probably answer a question. Now you can make it interesting. If you want it as an icebreaker or a warm-up activity, or maybe to close the week off with a bang, you can simply ask them to do something silly, do something quirky, you know, and things like make a big grin or stand and dance or sing your favorite song. You know, that way, you know, students it actually helps them to stay connected and to have fun with their classmates. And it also, and you too, you can even get yourself involved. You can actually ask students to select a card, and then you do the action. If you would like to use it to reinforce a content or a skill or anything of that sort, you would just simply need to write instructions on the card that's related to that content area. So those are different ways that you can use to get students to participate, and you can actually use it to assess whether or not the students are mastering the skill that you are teaching. So pick a card is pretty simple, and if you notice, these are just simple cards. I just cut them and just draw. You don't have to go and print off anything or you know, make it too difficult for yourself. You can also use it even at high school level. You can ask them questions in whichever lesson that you're teaching. You know, another way in which I use pick a card is students can select the card, and they would have, it depends on your class though. It depends on your classroom. If these students are more outgoing, you can have students select the card, and then they can select a student, another student, to answer the question or to do the action. So there you have it, pick a card. Okay, so the next one is Scavenger Hunt, and this is popular. This is not something that, you know, that we haven't used. You know your students, you know your class, you know the culture of your class, so it all depends on how you can incorporate these activities. But with scavenger hunt, I think there are like 3 ways you can do it. You can get a basket and put different items in the basket, and then you can pull from the basket, show the students what they need to go and find in their homes. Side note, make sure that you're not asking students to find things that they may not have in their homes. Remember, at the end of the day, they're having their friends in that same room. They don't want to feel uncomfortable, they don't want to feel out of place. So always bear in mind the socioeconomic background of your students, bear in mind the context, bear in mind just the culture of where you are and who you're teaching. So yeah, when you're thinking of putting things in the basket, please do not ask them to go get a DS, a Nintendo DS, if you know that probably some students may not have that in their homes, right? So think of things that are practical. And there are lists and lists online that you can use to make your scavenger hunt exciting. Another way that you can do it, you can actually have the list with you and just call the item and check it off. That way you're not repeating yourself. And another way in which you can use scavenger hunt, you can write the word on the board, and then the students will need to read the word on the board, and then you tell them go. That way you can even find out whether or not they can identify that word. And I would say not to erase it, because after you're done with the scavenger hunt, you can go through these words with the students at the end of that activity. I'm speaking too fast, sorry. But yeah, scavenger hunt is low prep, go to, pretty easy, and also get the students up and moving about and engaging with their classmates. All right, next activity is bingo. B-I-N-G-O. Yes, who doesn't love bingo? Bingo. Now, when you think of bingo, most times we think of numbers, but bingo can be used in any subject area. Have I ever won any bingo? But anyway, bingo can be incorporated in any subject. You can use bingo to reinforce any skill or any content that you've taught. Now, the key thing as I mentioned earlier, low prep activities in this episode. So what you would need to do is to go online and look for bingo generator, and that will help you to create bingo cards like that. You don't have to go and type out, in maybe a spreadsheet or create cards. You can actually go online and go straight to a bingo generator. All you would need to do is to enter whatever content that you would like the students to reinforce in the bingo game. I would say to you, before you carry out that game, is to outline the rules to the students. Make sure that they understand what's required of them before you start. What I would also suggest, if you have students that use only the phone to have their lessons, I would say print it out for them, send it in their student package, or you can email it to them and have them print it. But you have to know whether or not they have access to printing. So to make it easier for them, I would just, print out these cards, put it in their student package, and then they can take it home. And once they're online, then you can conduct the game. Always give a shout out to students who, if they've gotten to the reach level, and they've probably gotten the bingo, level. Always celebrate them, reward them, acknowledge them, because you want to make sure that for every activity that you do, it's not just doing an activity and then you move to the next lesson. There should always be an objective to every activity that you do. And even if it's an icebreaker or a warm-up, there should still be an objective to every activity that you do. If you want them to just relax or have some fun or interact with their classmates, it is still an objective. But you don't want to just do an activity to pass time. So with bingo, make sure to acknowledge students, and to make sure sorry, to make sure that they're all playing a pretty fair game, you can have students display their cards once they've gotten to the reach level. And if they achieve bingo, you have them display like a star or a smiley face and the card. That way you can, reward them. But yet, yes, I'll say try bingo. It doesn't matter the age range. What matters is the content in your bingo game. So go and try it. So the next activity is Shiritori, and this is a Japanese game which was adapted in our English lessons to build vocabulary. So this is how we play the game. This activity would be best for upper elementary to high school level. You can do this as a class, or you can place students in groups. You can even incorporate a little music when students are doing this game. Now, in groups, you can show a letter or a word. In this case, I've shown you a letter. Now, the first players in the group will come up with a word from the letter shown, or they can come up with a word from the last letter of the previous word shown. Next, they will need to show it on the screen so that their teammates, which is the next player, can come up with the new word. If your students are having challenges using the virtual whiteboard, you can have them write their words down on a piece of paper and then they'll display it. Now, to make it fair, you will need time. You will need to give the students time, and you also need to give them a timer when they need to stop writing, show their card, and put their cards down. And then the next player will continue. Now, to make it more exciting, groups that have longer words, you can give them points, like 5 points, for words that are longer, and the shorter words, you can also assign points. Just want you to remember this, teachers. You know the culture of your class. You will know whether or not this will make them, motivated or not. So make sure that how you're going to tailor the activity, students will be more connected and they'll be engaged or willing to participate. And bear in mind, when you're doing this game, use a timer. A timer will also help to make it more exciting and to make it also fair, so students will not complain that other groups are given it time or others aren't. All right, so that is it for Shiritori. Okay, so I know I said that I would share with you 5 low prep activities, but I also want to share with you a little workout that I did in the past with my students, and they loved it. And what I started off with, of course, I did a warm-up, to also teach them the importance of warming up their bodies, right? And then, of course, you can get music. Come on, you can use YouTube, find some music, and have the students, moving their bodies, right? You can incorporate this in your PE sessions. Then, if you notice, I create what is called a circuit. And of course, PE teachers, any PE teachers around? I think I have it correct, right? You can create a circuit for your students. And if you look at the things that I used, you can find them in your homes, or you can go to the store and have students do the different circuit. So I use the things that I already have in my home, and as you can see, there are boxes, cords, and things that students can actually find in their homes, and I create a circuit. That, I'm telling you, they enjoyed it. Now, again, bear in mind your age group, so you don't have, grade 6 students doing the circuit that I am showing, kindergarten students. But you can create a circuit in your PE sessions that students will look forward to, and they can find these things at home. But I would say to you, give the parents time to gather these things. All right, so this is it. I have shared with you some of the activities that I have used that didn't require a lot of preparation, but they created an impact. I was able to get my students to be more engaged. They look forward to coming to classes online, and they learned. So the key thing is to make sure that while you're doing these activities, students are learning, they are engaged, they are connecting with you. But make sure that whatever you're doing with all these activities, you have an aim and an objective in mind. Always remember that. Once you have that vision of what you want in your class, that will help you to align or realign your activities. Let me know what you think. In fact, you can comment below other low prep activities that you have used in your online classrooms where students were engaged, they were participating, they were learning, and they were connecting with you. All right, so with that being said, keep growing, keep learning, and keep doing all that you can for your students. Walk good.